What's going on, everybody? This is the host of Recover Out Loud podcast, Sean Young. Before we dive in, I want to be clear. I'm not a medical professional. I'm not here to diagnose or treat. I'm simply a catalyst, someone who's walked through the fire and now speaks from experience, reflection, and a deep desire to help others find their way forward. This podcast may include honest conversations about addiction, mental health challenges, and suicidal thoughts or ideations. These are real parts of the human experience, and we won't shy away from them. If you're listening, please do so with self-care and self-awareness. And if you're struggling, please reach out. There's help out there. And most importantly, there's hope. Viewer discretion is advised. Now let's get it. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Recover Out Loud, episode number 97. We are keeping this train rolling. We're doing the fucking thing. Today, I've got a good friend of mine. This is actually 2 years in the making. Got a good buddy of mine, Jeff Vickers. How you doing, brother?
Can't complain. Definitely blessed to be alive and be here with y'all.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And I was looking at the little screen while the intro was playing. I was looking down there and she's like, just nodding your head. Yeah. Yep.
Maybe.
Yep. Ready to go, chomping at the bit. So Jeff, would you like to give us a short introduction of who you are?
Stuck. I'm gonna keep going. Okay, I see you. Hey, buddy, I'm Jeff Vickers. I am a child of God, first and foremost. I am a professional peer in recovery. I am a man who is diagnosed with multiple mental health illnesses, and I'm here to just love on the family, love on the community. I am coming up on, by God's will, 5 years of continuous recovery after 30 odd years in active use. What have I accomplished? I've accomplished a lot, coming up on 5 years without a reuse, without a rearrest. Those things are important to me, right? Before I go to sleep at night, I'm like, yeah, I'm still home, right? And I'm still sober, right? So that's kind of important to me. I've accomplished a couple of things, I suppose. I have a NAMI certification. I'm able to speak to law enforcement directly when they are dealing with people who are in crisis. I have national certification from CCAR as a national designated recovery coach inside the U.S. and all territories. And I just received my first state certification. I received my first state certification from Alabama. I moved here from Atlanta. Of course, I know a few people in your community, right? And when I first jumped on here, that's where I was living. And I put that work in Atlanta. And now I'm living here in Alabama for 2 reasons. I'm in love. All right. My babe, she's also a professional peer. Slated to get married at the end of the year. And in addition to that, found out that this community could definitely use my services. I just received my certification from the Alabama Department of Mental Health, and that title is called CRSS. Hold up. Certified Recovery Support Specialist. In the state of Alabama, there's about 600 of us, and it's probably less than 100 men. In the county that I'm in, there's probably about 3-4 men in this county, which is Colbert County here in Alabama. So I think that God, he what he do, right? He put you right where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. So that's what's up, and we can get the rolling from there. That's who I am, and what little bit that. I wrote a book. I forgot.
I wrote a book.
I forgot about that. Wrote a book called Sober Slogans, Recovery Models We Love. And I still have people talking to me about that book. I got a friend from the UK that's still on my phone. Like, yo, I just read chapter 5 again. I'm like, whoa, right? That's super cool. And God put that on my heart. I was about to get in recovery, and I kept hearing about these mottos and these slogans. I'm from the street. I'm from New York. So I like lingo. I like language. I realized at a young age that language is the pathway to all cultures. I always like to say it. Me and you, Sean, huh? Me and you can scratch a number and become multimillionaires. And we like, yo, what we going to do with this money? Let's go to Venezuela and open up a recovery center. Now we millionaires, but we don't speak whatever they speak. I think it's Spanish. Let's keep it simple. And we don't speak Spanish. Guess what? We don't really have the pathway into that culture. The money is language, don't get me wrong, right? But to be able to speak the language of the people allows you that opportunity to be integrated into that culture. You know this from when we was in the streets. Huh? I'm from New York. I'm from the Bronx. I can't speak Bronx lingo down in Brooklyn. They're gonna be like, nah, bro, get back on the train. Get back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So this is what I learned when I was a newcomer, how the language of recovery allowed me to tap into people that on the surface, we didn't look like we had anything in common, right? But after a brother, finished sharing, like let's say me, after I finished sharing, and then Sean, you like one day at a time, big dog. Okay. Recovery's a journey, not a destination. Progress, not perfect. So I started hearing all this. I'm like, where they got a lexicon? Where's this information? Like, I was serious. I was like, what is this stuff? And they're like, oh, those slogans, man. Those are mottos. Those are like, powerful packets of information in a sentence, man, that you could just, you can train yourself to start understanding what it means. And in the moment, you can retrieve that and say, you know what? Yeah, one day at a time, bro. Anything good. I ain't gonna get stressed, And I was like, holy snap. So I went online and I started seeing lists of popularized mottos and slogans. So I went to Amazon. There's no book. I did that. God was like, boop, boop.
Now there is.
Now there is. I started working on it, and I'm proud, and the reason why I'm proud of that particular accomplishment is because first and foremost, I wrote a book my first year in recovery. Who does that?
Nobody.
Who does that? Who chases the dragon of a substance
for
over 30 years? And then that first year, they're like, you know what? I think I got something for the community.
Yeah.
Had I spoken to anyone about what God put on my heart, they would have probably laughed at me. So I kept it close to my heart. You know what I mean? Until it was time to let it out. And and still till this day, I have people asking me like, what's up with the reprint? Ain't nothing in stock. Or if I go to Amazon, I got to buy from another person, or it's buried now because you ain't promoting it. And, but I do have a workbook version of sober slogans. So what I'm doing is I'm going to reprint it, but I'm going to have both of them in one volume. Doesn't make sense to have this and then have that. I ain't trying to get rich, right? So I'll put both of them together, and I don't mind reprinting the first edition. I'm not going to add anything to it. I got other things to do, right? But I'll reprint that first edition, and then in the back of the first edition, it'll be the workbook. So what it looks like is it's formatted the same way as the chapters, right? Yep. But I go back through the chapters. Let's say chapter 6. Recovery is a journey, not a destination. I know that chapter because that's my favorite, motto, right? Yeah. So it's formatted the same way, okay? But then you get an updated version of my experience after a couple of years and how I see that slogan to be effective in my life. And now I also hit them with, we got to work. You know what I mean? So that's the workbook part of it. So I am going to do that. That'll probably be slated for next year because I got some other projects working,
Yeah. One of the things I was going to say, man, is like, well, two things really. Is the first one is you're going to need a whole new room for all those accomplishments, my man. Like, you're going to need a whole nother room. You don't got enough wall space, and that's important, right? And that shows, we can feel those accomplishments, but when you see them and they're right there in black and white, it's fucking important,
I
right?
think I've only printed one certificate, so thank you.
Print them all.
Thank you for that. I got to print my certifications. I got to have them in the wall. Yeah, facts.
It's important, man. Not just for the professionalism, man, but just to see it, like how far you've come in 5 years, short 5 years, man. And so, second thing is, when you were talking about the slogans, the slogans, man, I'm gonna be honest, man. When I got into the rooms, I fucking hated them. I hated the slogans so much. I was like, these are so corny. They're so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
But then the more that I got into recovery and I started like applying those to my life, like one of the ones that I hated the most was keep coming back to work if you work. Like, fuck you. I'm keep coming. I'm court mandated to come back.
I have to. Yeah.
I have to. I don't want to, but then I got to the want to.
Yes, sir.
And that was right. We get, in recovery, we go from that have to the want to, right? The have to is like, man, fuck, I have to do this. And now it's like I want to because it's so beneficial for my life, right? Like it just changed every aspect of my life.
Let me throw one more on that.
Go for it.
I get to.
Yeah, I get to. Yeah,
so
and that's
for me. That's what happened. Oh man, I got to do that, and I guess I want to do it. And I was like, holy crap, I get to do this.
Yeah,
that's completion for me. Yes, sir.
It's a blessing. It's an absolute blessing. And then the second one that I just was don't quit before the miracle happens.
Oh,
I hated that shit so much because it's like I want to quit. Yeah, I want to give up. What fucking miracle are you gonna tell me? I require some recovery. I require some sober time. I get some of that, but then the miracle happens without you even noticing. And that's the hardest shit that I realized. Was like the miracle happens when you don't even realize it. That day that you wake up and you're like, man, I've been sober for a year. Right? Or that day that you wake up and you're like, I am no longer angry at this person. Right? Like I made amends to that person. I never thought I could. My mom was one of those people. Right?
Mine too.
Yeah. And then or that moment that you wake up and you're like, I love myself. I fucking love myself. I used to hate myself, dude. I used to look in the mirror and I would say, fuck you for being who you are. But I look in the mirror and I'm saying, thank you for who you are. Because that is a blessing.
Yeah. I love that. You touched something. You used to say that to yourself. I used to get high and rap it to myself in the mirrors in the bathroom. Back when I thought I was a rapper in the movies, right? Got like 15 people in a one room little trap motel. And they call me Jedi since I was like 14. Yo, where's Jedi? And if they knew me, they'd be like, he's in the bathroom, dog. Ain't no telling what he doing in there, but I promise you he in the bathroom. I'm in the bathroom rapping to myself. You ain't shit, motherfucker. You know it. You ain't. I mean that, bro. And I've come from then to every time I'm conscious and I'm looking in the mirror, I do two things, right? I praise God because I happen to be handsome. I can't help that. You know what I mean? I just can't, right? So I thank him for that.
I got the look.
And then I say, Jeff, I love you and I'm proud of you, man. Real simple. There was a Miss Angela. Oh, Miss Angela, what is her last name? I can't remember. She was my first counselor when I was in treatment. And, oh my goodness, I don't want to cry on here, bro. Miss Angela literally brought me a mirror. It was pink, I ain't gonna lie, but it was a handheld mirror. So I can get into the repetition of looking at myself and telling myself, I love you, Jeff, and I'm proud of you. I love you, Jeff, and I'm proud of you. I may still have that mirror. And you know what's so crazy, Sean? I was just thinking about Miss Angela last week. And I was like, dag, I wonder if I still have that mirror. I think I do, though. No, go ahead.
That mirror on your wall, too.
Yeah.
No, man. So, like, yeah, man, you sounded to me like you were Cassidy trying to be 50 Cent.
I know he ain't just come for me. Listen, Cassidy. Okay, I'll take that, but that's better than Jim Jones trying to be Nas.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. You're not
That's
wrong.
better than Jim Jones out there right now crying to everybody about how he better knock it off. Knock it off.
Oh, wait. Joe Budden. Let's not even talk about Joe Budden. We'll move. We'll move off of that.
Don't do that.
The only good song.
You from B-more, I'm from New York, he from Jersey. We just gonna, you know what I mean? Let's leave that. Let's leave that alone.
The only song Joe Budden ever came out that was hard was Black Cloud. That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Other than that, I'm skipping everything.
Yes. Joe Budden who?
Right? Oh, the podcast guy? Like
shit. The
podcast guy? Oh, he made music? Yeah. Yeah, that part. That part.
All right.
I fancy myself as being a recovery rapper. Okay.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Man, I fancy myself. Who knows what might happen one day, but I do fancy myself, yeah. Benjamin got me lit, boy. I know you know Benjamin Lerner.
Yeah. I got somebody to push your way.
Okay.
Good buddy of mine. His name is Jared Blaine. Love that dude to death.
Okay.
What
do you do?
He's a rapper, white rapper. Good dude. Solid.
Send me a link.
Yeah, got you. Yeah. All right, man. We're gonna move on off of the clowning and the jokes for a moment. We get a little serious. Jeff, what was the first time that you ever used drugs?
First time I ever used drugs, I was probably, like officially the first time was probably like 10 years old, marijuana. Yeah. Officially, first time hanging out with older cousins. You know how that go. Summertime, wanting to be grown, block party where all the DJs and out there, in the chicken with the in the projects, and want to be grown, no weed. And I think I drank a little bit of pink champagne. Remember that?
Yep.
Pink, I don't even think they make that no more. But that was the first time. That was definitely the first time. Yeah.
So moving on from that, man, like that first time, I know like that started to surround, my first use was when I was an adolescent too, man, and I thought I was cool as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But then you start to move on to the harder things, man. At what point did you say this is an option for me?
At what point did I say this is not?
This is an option for me. Like I'm gonna start, using some harder stuff. I'm gonna start
15. Yeah, 15. Yeah, man, 15 for sure. I was popular drug dealer.
Mm-hmm.
And by that time, I really didn't like smoking weed. I didn't like drinking, right? As we was out there 40 ounces, even the 64 ounces. I think Valentine Ale or something crazy. I mean, remember the old school jugs? You'd see it on TV, huh? That they had old school jugs, like you hold it like that, but it's big like this. That's how they made like beverages and sold in the hood to us. So I'm out there, you know what I mean? So by that time, I really didn't like that. I didn't like marijuana too much. So I thought it was a bright idea for me to try smoking the same thing I was selling.
No, you did your supply, didn't you?
Why not? You know what I mean? Yeah. I turned into G Money. If you saw New Jack City, you already know what it is.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I was like the second, third in command, and then I wound up, using drugs. I wound up smoking crack. That became my DOC. And at the time, for years, I regretted it. I don't regret it anymore. I don't regret my active use. I wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
Being real with
you. If I told you that I didn't believe that people could get hooked on a drug from the very first use, would you believe me?
I would not.
Yeah. So there was a point in my recovery where, like at the early stages of my recovery, I didn't believe people could get addicted off that first hit. And I was in a VA domiciliary, so like a homeless shelter for people that are in recovery that are veterans. And this veteran was sharing his story, and I was like, man, I don't believe you can get addicted on the first hit. And my counselor was like, hey, when did you get addicted? And he literally was like, off that first hit. He was like, that first hit did me in. He's like, and I just couldn't get enough of it. It was like I fucking needed it. Was that the same for you?
Absolutely. it's so interesting because during that time, we're talking 15, 16, 17, right? We're just learning how to develop our personality.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about being socialized for my environment, growing up for my caregivers, right? I'm talking about having a mindset to say, now I'm going to consciously create a personality. This is who I think I am.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting because during that time, it was around that same time. Yeah, I'm selling drugs, but it was around the time where I was like, what am I going to do? The irony of life is hilarious. I'm like, what am I going to do with my life while I'm selling drugs? And the decision that I made was to smoke crack. And that one time after that was over for me, because I had too many voids within myself. I had too many holes, if you will.
Yeah.
And it's just another way of saying, trauma. I had a lot of compressed trauma, if you will, And when I used crack cocaine for the first time, it gave me the feeling of freedom.
Yeah.
Freedom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When they talk about chasing the dragon, it's always whatever terminology, allegory that you use to describe it. It's always a sense of that made me feel free from who I was, right? So now I need to continuously chase that freedom so it can sustain me because I don't like being who I am. But now you start using that substance and you become a slave to that and you dislike yourself more for becoming a slave to that than you did with the previous you had in your life.
And then you fucking do it again. It's madness. It's madness. I mean, it's just crazy, man. And then on top of that too, man, that was like probably within the peak of the war on drugs too, man.
Brother.
And especially in the Bronx.
Could not turn the TV on without seeing Ronald and Nancy. Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan for those younger folk, right? You couldn't see it. You could not see them not talking about it. And it was devastating. You want to get to it? It was absolutely devastating to see what it did to the community. And yes, I was a small part of it, but I got to be honest, it was devastating to see women that I grew up with and respected my whole life, coming into my spot with a VCR or their whole television or what you want out my refrigerator, what you got in that bag, red, get away from it. Like, is this what this thing does? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But even though that might have been bad, seeing what it did to the community, it did something to me, and something to my family, something that we are still rebuilding our legacy from, like many families, Sean?
Yeah, man. I completely understand. And I have a whole thought process, and this could be a whole 2-3 hour episode on what I feel that the war on drugs did to not just, not just those cities, but the families, Black families, Puerto Rican families, Mexican families, just like the culture in general, what it did. After being in recovery and digging into it, it was like, holy shit, this was bad. This was really fucking bad because, like, I grew up in a different community you did, and like I was always told drugs are bad, drugs are bad, drugs are bad. Anybody who does it is a fucking criminal. But it's like a lot of those people that do drugs are trying to escape from a fucking reality that they're put in, and that reality is not so great. And then it's perpetually pumped back into the system, right? You reoffend, you pump back into the system because you're not taught any different, and then you reoffend, and you get put back. So it's just like it's a nasty fucking cycle, man. And yeah, that's a whole nother episode that we could dive into, man. But
yeah, that's a series. That ain't one. That's a series.
For sure. Absolutely. So, if you don't mind me asking, what did it do to your family?
So I grew up in an environment where there were extortionists, number runners, pimps, prostitutes, and I was in my apartment where I lived.
Yeah.
We ain't talking about outside, right?
Yeah.
So before I even had that experience, substance use had already kind of like, disintegrated my family, right?
Yeah.
And what I mean by disintegrated, it's like the family dynamic, the dynamic of community, not community, excuse me, communication,
Yeah.
you know, of celebrating the lives of those individuals, and collectively we are family. So when I was growing up, I started noticing like people going their separate ways. We're not doing the holidays anymore. This ain't happening. And as time went on, it was clear that a lot of that had to do, with drug use. Especially for me, when I wasn't showing up, it was because I was doing something, right? But because of the environment that I grew up in, the perspective on a lot of things was skewed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You grew up in an unhealthy environment, 9 times out of 10, you're going to develop an unhealthy perspective about yourself as well as the world. I've been incarcerated thrice. I don't know how many times my uncle was incarcerated, my mom maybe once or twice, but her journey is mostly psychiatric establishments, right? My grandmother was a functional drunk. You know what I mean? She was a
Yeah.
functional drunk. She was a numbers runner. You know what I mean? But as time went on and you start seeing more use, then you start seeing more separation within my personal family. And the same is true no matter what, because we speak about that, right? Oh, the opposite of addiction is, let me say, community, togetherness, whatever those words, you know what I mean? Those different words, but it's always about connectedness as opposed to when we're, in substance use, when that's active, you're not connected to anyone, not even yourself. And I always speak about that. I could sit in a room with 20 people and I feel like I'm by myself. You know what I mean? And of course, that's indicative when it comes to mental health illnesses, definitely dealing with that, depression, dealing with bipolar 1 or 2. You know what I mean? Depending on, but you're always going to feel like this. You're always going to feel like I'm different from Sean. I'm over here, Sean's over there. You know what I mean? And that's in a nutshell what drugs did to my family. It's like we're here, but then we're here. We're just separated. You're not connected at all.
Yeah. No, and going back to slogans, man, that's another one. The opposite of addiction is connection, man. I've heard that so much. And one of my best friends says that shit all the time, and I agree with it. I've always agreed with it because, like you said, when we are in our active addiction, active use, what have you, we're so far disconnected, not just from our community, but we're disconnected from ourselves. We're disconnected from our inner being, our soul, what have you. That like we don't know who we truly are because we've masked so much of who we are, and made an attempt to try and change a spectrum. So we
Yes.
give. So I completely understand where you're coming from, man. And so you said you got incarcerated 3 times. Was that final incarceration the one that was like, I got to change?
Definitely. Ooh, yeah.
Mm.
The last one was I had a 15-year term.
Mm.
10, 5 on the back. So I did 10 years in prison. Came home, I did 5 years on parole. Yeah, grew up a little bit. I didn't come straight home and start using drugs. I got my GED while I was in prison. I got an associate's degree from Ohio University in business management when I was in prison. And I did start working on myself a little bit. When I came home, I lived a particular lifestyle, husband, dad, everything 100% legit. However, I didn't work on myself. I worked a little bit. We talking core issues, right? And for me, underneath the core issues is always the belief system, right? Things happen. We develop a belief system we believe ourselves to be, right? And it sits there underneath those core issues, right? So I didn't address my core issues. So eventually my core issue, you know what I mean? It's time. I got triggered, right? Maybe 7, 8 years being back in society. Then I wound up, reusing, and I was all in for about 6, 7 years.
Oh,
And
yeah.
now we're now coming up on the 5 years in recovery, right? But I can say the 10 years changed me. I had no thoughts on coming home and repeating what I did the last 2 times I was in prison, but because I didn't work on my core issues, right? And underneath those core issues, my beliefs, I was still the same person.
Yeah. Yeah. You couldn't change.
Yeah.
I fully agree with that, man. Like when I was in my active addiction, when I was drinking a lot, man, I got to get these points where I'm like, I'm not going to drink, but I wasn't fucking working on myself. I was just abstinent, right? Like I was just abstinent from it. And then I would always say, I would call it sober, but it wasn't really sober because, like you said, I wasn't working on my shit.
Yeah.
So like I would say, oh, I'm being sober for my daughter, right? Or I'm being sober for my ex, or at the time, girlfriend, wife, what have you. And then whenever they would leave, I had nobody to be sober for. So I was like, okay, let's go back to it. Back at it, right? Yeah. And it wasn't until God damn it. I had this native man. I was in Alaska jail, and I had this native man look at me, and he was like, "You've created all your problems for yourself. When you come to terms with that, you'll be better off." And I was like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" Right?
Yeah.
Like, who the fuck are you?
Who is this shaman? Like,
right. And I was, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
And like, but it made so much sense, and I stopped, and I really just surrendered at that point. I was like, it's right. He's completely right. And then so, like you said, you started working on yourself, man. And when I started working on myself, I noticed I didn't notice a night and day change. Other people did. And then it wasn't until like I actually fully submitted to the program and was like, I'm done. I can't do this no more. Right? Like I can't live this life of chaos anymore because it's insanity, and I'm gonna end up dying.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So when you started working on yourself, man, like was it just like I'm gonna dip my toes in the water, or were you like I'm jumping head first in?
Love that question. I'm an all or nothing kind of dude. I think
Yeah.
I was born a little alpha guy, right? Born
Yep.
like vision, we going all out. There's nothing to talk about. And I'm kind of happy that God built me that way, because I was like that in active use. So I'm coming to stop playing. Huh?
Yeah.
We doing this for real. I recover out loud because I used out loud. I let the whole world know, like, yeah, I don't dip toes in nothing, bro. Who dips a toe in what? I'm all in. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's how it works for me. And I just strive, to keep it simple for myself. I really do.
I know so many people that like dip their toes in recovery, and they're like, oh, I might go to an AA meeting.
Nah.
I can't go to that AA meeting because it talks about God, and it's like, get over yourself.
Yeah,
Get fucked over yourself. And like you said, I'm an all-in kind of person, man. When the judge said jump, I said, how fucking high do you need me to jump? Do you need me to grab the rim? Because I'm gonna do it. I'll hold on to that bitch like I'm about to die.
I'm gonna jump out the gym. Tell me what to do.
Yeah, and nose to the grindstone, man. Like, and that's the thing. Like people like you and I, we have to be the nose to the grindstone.
Yeah,
because it's at that point it's life or death.
Yeah,
right. Like, at that point, it's either I'm gonna commit fully to this thing, or I'm not doing shit.
And it's freedom.
Yes,
it's freedom. The freedom that I was looking for in every cloud of friggin' smoke for 30-odd years. I was looking for the freedom in that, right? It's freedom when you dive all the way into you, because that's all it's about. Recovery is a journey, not a destination. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't care if it's 20,000 of us at a conference. Every single person has their own journey. And to me, that journey is diving into me. I have to dive into me so I can start like, let's get it out of here. I'm holding these issues. Let's clean the house up a little bit, right? And the way that I do that is going to look different from the way that you do that. But the blessed thing about it is for those of us who choose to dive high off the high board straight into recovery, we find ourselves more holistically than those other people. I don't like being a part of myself. I want to approach myself from a holistic perspective. And the only way that I can do that is by carving out spaces to deal with the issues, right? That collectively became Jedi.
Yep.
So now that I'm dealing with these issues part by part, right? The holistic journey has allowed me a level of freedom where my thoughts don't control me, people outside of me don't control me, and my environment doesn't control me. I'm human like everybody else, so don't get me wrong. My girl might say something, I'm in a bad headspace, I'm on her. And then maybe the next day I might be like, I allowed that to control me. Not her, but that, to control me, right? But the level of that I've gained, I wish everybody had it, bro. And I mean that, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, I can sit by myself. Ain't nobody got to be talking to me. I don't have to be doom scrolling. I can sit by myself no matter where I'm at on this planet, and I hear God's voice, and I'm good.
Yeah.
As long as I am not listening to my voice. There's a difference. That's a process, though. But yeah, for those of us who choose to dive all the way in, the miracles are there. And that is the miracle. Don't leave before the miracle happens, or however we say. Don't leave before the say it. You say it for me.
Quit before the miracle happens.
Yeah, don't quit before the miracle happens. You know what I'm saying? What is the miracle? You, me, renewing of our mind and our spirit. You know what I'm saying? That is the miracle, the true miracle. And for me, I've been able to renew my mind and my spirit because I have a 3-step process. I ain't trying to push nothing, sell nothing. I don't want you to like, subscribe, or nothing. But I'm going to just be real with you, okay? Believe, behave, become. Every once in a while, I throw it out there on social. But that's my process, bro.
Yeah.
I got to believe. What do I have to believe? Well, it's up to me to define who it is that I am. I'm talking about self-belief. I ain't talking about believing it. I don't care about none of that. I'm talking about we still here. All right. But I have to define consciously who it is that I say that I am. That's the belief. That's the belief. And I have to do it on a regular basis. I can't just, Monday through Friday this. Monday through Friday, I'm Jeff Vickers. Saturday and Sunday, I'm Jedi. Nah, it don't work like that. You understand?
That part of you has to.
Go ahead, say it again, please.
That part of you had to die.
Had to. You know what I mean? But these days, it's about carving out who it is that I say I am. So that's the belief part. And there's many different experiences per day to reinforce who it is I believe I am. And eventually the body starts to believe it. And once the body starts to believe it, you locked in, baby. There's nothing to talk about because you done literally downloaded it from in here, down here, into your body. Okay. And if I sit there and I say, right? Because it's certain things that I've said, I got a whole system with the affirmations I listen to, put on my water, all of that. Those are the ways that I reinforce who it is I believe I am on a daily basis. My affirmations, meditation, my visualization, and my affirmations that I put on my water, and I allow my water to listen to it, right? For hours on end. And I right back into myself. Right back. And of course, this work and this all forms of that, right? But every day I must reinforce who it is that I believe myself to be. What happens is that we get from the thought to the feeling to the behavior. Cognitive behavioral therapy, right? I'm always throw something out there, right?
Yeah.
And it's what it is. I follow that process. That's all I do. I follow CBT. Okay. I have to believe that I am who I say I am. And it's up to me, okay, to establish routines throughout the day for me to do that. That's that. eventually it's going to be on autopilot, right?
Yep.
What we get from the belief, we have to get to what? Behave.
Yep.
Behave. That's the next step. Thoughts produce feelings, right? And those feelings, as you walk those feelings out, they're behaviors, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm believing who it is I say I am. So in order for me to believe, I gotta, again, put things into the universe to reflect back to me who I believe I am.
Yeah.
We do it every day. Most are not conscious of it. You know what I mean? And you start behaving in that manner. For me, a lot of times, that's my visualization. I'll sit there, put my 528 hertz on, maybe a half hour, maybe 15 minutes. I'm in my head with it. I see it. It's my etch a sketch. I ain't got to go like this. You know, when he's growing up with the etch a sketch, right?
Yeah.
So now, I believe myself to be a certain person, I have to act that out in real life. So I take time on a regular basis to visualize that higher self or that next version, whatever we want to label it, right? But it ain't the person I am yet. It's here, but it ain't get here, and it's not out here. You know what I mean? So now I have to start behaving according to that. That might look like, you know, me doing a couple of meetings online, me doing a couple of meetings in person, and me being a big brother over it. Whatever that system looks like, now I have to behave in a like manner. I said I believe myself to be.
Yeah.
And like you said, we were talking earlier, right? Don't even see it happening, but you become the miracle. That's what's
Absolutely.
real, bro. You know, so it's believe, behave, become. Go ahead, Sean.
I'm very much a silent observer. I watch things. I watch people online and stuff, and I'm always in the background. One of the crazier things that I've noticed is like an odd parallel between you and I.
What's
And
up?
so, like, well, so probably like 2 years ago, man, I was like, you know, I started dipping my toes into the holistic stuff, right, and like really believing. I didn't dip my toes. I went full head first in. Uh, but I started listening to Dr. Joe Dispenza, and hold on.
He changed my life, you know.
Right. I started listening to one of his audiobooks, and then I jump online, and who do I see that posts the cover of Becoming Supernatural? You. And I was like, shut the fuck up, right? Like, it is so odd, right? Yeah, I mean, it's not odd. At the time, I thought it was odd, but it very much is alignment, right?
Man.
And so, you know, when things start to fall into place, man, it's crazy. Joe Dispenza is another person that revolutionized the way that I think and the way that I operate in all of his books. And everybody, you know, people come to me and say, hey, you know what book should Becoming Supernatural, Dr. Joe Dispenza, any one of his books. You listen to one and you are going to crave to listen to the next one and the next one. Like, my goal for next year is to go to one of his conferences. That is,
bro.
Come on now. Because those books literally take you from being, like, you know, just existing to excelling in life and changing everything. And so, like, being a silent observer and watching you, man, it's been amazing to watch your growth and to watch, you know, where you've come from, right? And like, we're speaking the same language. You know, you said earlier that, you know, language is everything. You know, you can go to the Bronx and you can speak Bronx lingo, but then you go to like Venezuela and you can't speak the language. But there's one language that we all speak, and that's fucking recovery. And recovery looks so much different for everybody, but we all speak the same language, right? You might have a recovery group where it's AA, where it's very deep into Christian belief structures, and there's nothing wrong with that. But then you can have a pagan group that is completely, you know, engulfed in paganism, but they still believe the same cores. And then you've got NA that, you know, that talks about, you know, addiction from, you know, to a more harmful substance, or like Cocaine's Anonymous, or like Sexaholics. Not like, there's so many fucking groups, but we all speak the same language, and that's recovery.
Amen.
And then when we're able to, like, all, you know, I mean, not everybody's gonna get it, right? That's why we have people coming in and out of the rooms, right? Like, you got people coming in the rooms and they're gonna stay there for their whole life because that's what they need, or people that are gonna go out and they're gonna test fate, and then they're gonna come back in because they realize that they fucked up. Or there's
you know what I mean? They come back in like, "Ooh, it was coke." We already knew it was
Yeah.
coke.
Yeah. Yeah. You just wanted to meet again, and that's fine. There's gonna be a chair waiting for you. But it's just this beautiful, beautiful thing, man. So before we go, I want to ask you something I'm starting to ask all my guests, and it's because I find it so fucking important because I find that it changed my life when I started doing this, man. What are 3 things that you're grateful for today?
Oh man, thank you. 3 things I'm grateful for: breath of life,
Ooh,
a sound mind,
yeah,
and a relationship with my higher power,
yeah,
which kind of came from him for number one, but whatever. I'm an overthinker, right? But yeah, breath of life that I received from my higher power, being in sound mind, you know, being in sound mind, man. Yeah,
yeah. And then the breath of life is really important too.
yeah.
Breath is important. You know, uh, why is it like all the time that we think something and we're about to do it, and somebody says breathe life into it,
Mm-hmm. It's the
right?
connection.
Yeah, it's the connection, right? I feel like if we're talking about metaphysical shit, metaphorical shit, like whatever, on a greater plane of existence, breath is the most powerful thing. You can have all the other elements, earth, wind, fire,
Mm-hmm.
spirit, but breath,
You need
that
breath.
breath, breathing. That's why, like when we're angry, they say take a breath.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like when you're doing meditation, man, you get in a much deeper state of consciousness, or in your subconscious with breath, the
Mm-hmm.
deep belly, everything you do, man. So thank you for sharing that, man. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Jeff, where can we find you, man?
I'm on Facebook. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Jeff Vickers, Vickers. Uh, that's where you can find me. Or Tuscumbia, Alabama. You
Mm,
want to come down here to Tuscumbia, you could definitely find me. A lot of beautiful things are actually starting to transpire in this community. One thing that I'm learning throughout the nation, like anywhere else, it's like certain parts may be a little more advanced, if you will, than others,
yeah,
and dealing with recovery as a whole in this beautiful state. I'm learning, I'm learning that this state is, if you want to say catching up to where Georgia is, then we can say that, right? But the
yeah,
beautiful part about it is, I just feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be during the time that I'm supposed to be here. You know what I mean? Before we started talking briefly, recidivism and all that, and I'm like, want to talk about that briefly, right? But you can find me again on Facebook, right? But I'd actually love, for our community to jump over to Colbert, Colbert County. Uh, uh, um, I'm stuck right now. Colbert County Reentry and Recovery Support Initiative is the page that I started. Long name, but we're doing business as Colbert Reentry, right? And one thing I realized without really unpacking a lot of that is that the same way that we have organizations and nonprofits who want to love on justice involved individuals so that they don't do the recidivism, right? I
yeah,
learned that I had to first start not doing the recidivism up here, Sean. You
yeah,
understand what I'm saying? It got to start here at the end of the day. And I do want to leave with that. You know what I mean? Everything starts here, just like the Alaskan shaman. That's what we're going to call him. The Alaskan,
yeah,
the Alaskan
yeah,
shaman told you straight up, like, bro, every problem that exists in your life, you created it. And when I learned a little bit about that from Joe Dispenza, right? What I
yeah,
learned is that we truly are co-creators of our existence. And the more we choose to take accountability for that, right?
yeah,
Then we can hone the skills, gifts, and talents that we've been imbued with and make conscious decisions to create our life. So instead of being on autopilot from a subconscious program that been downloaded into me because of circumstances and all of that, and now I'm just on autopilot causing chaos, right? I can take a
yeah,
moment, sit down and start learning how to shape who it is that I see myself being. And when we do that, now we take accountability for the fact, it is a true fact that we are co-creators in our lives. The co-part, right? A lot of people say up here and down here, yeah, cool. But it's not just the relationship between me and my higher power. It's me and my relationship between me and my higher power that pushes out between something like this right now. We're exchanging energy. This is a dynamic. We're friends in recovery. We're respectable peers in recovery, right? But in order for me not to repeat the recidivism of the mind, I have to stay sharp and remind myself on a daily basis who I believe myself to be through my actions. Then, right? After I do that, maybe I'll be in a position to help other people not repeat the recidivism, if you will, of their mind. Because it's a prison, bro. Huh?
Yeah.
It was a prison.
Yeah.
It was Sean. It was a prison for me. And I don't want to keep, you know what I mean? So what I had to do is clean up house. And I had to start recreating myself. So I'm not scared to go back inside.
Yeah, absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we're gonna do a part 2. We're gonna talk about
I ain't going nowhere.
we're gonna talk about that recidivism rate. We're gonna talk about criminal justice system. And I personally feel one of the questions I wanted to ask, but we can't get to it now, is how those interactions with law enforcement is now with you versus when you were a kid, because that is important. That shit's important, right? The transformation, the thought process.
Yes, it is. And I know we don't have time for that, but I do want to say this because I'm transparent, right? I'm on misdemeanor probation currently. Today, my right hand of God, I went to probation. Today. Yeah.
That's all.
I was in and out. I was in and out. But we did speak. You know what we speak about? We spoke about? He's like, what's going on with your nonprofit? Did you become official 501c yet? Because I know you have your EIN status. What's going on with this? What's going on? I speak to my probation officer. He's talking to me from a perspective of a peer.
Yep.
He knows my history is right there in black and white, but he also knows the accomplishments that I've made thus far in recovery. And my PO literally is like, I want to introduce you to this probation officer over here in Lauderdale County because he's heavy, when it comes to reentry, he might be able to assist you with that. Oh, have you also met? Do you know about, you know what I mean? So that relationship, the primary relationship that I have with someone who's law enforcement, it's love. He just wants to see me do better because he's seen the work on, you know what I mean? He hasn't seen it, but he knows of the work that I've accomplished to be the man that I am now. So our relationship, it's all good. He like, yo, did you catch the such and such fight? It's like, nah, let me get your login. Let me get your Showtime login, Mike, but it's all love now because I know who I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've worked on myself long enough to know who I am, and I no longer take from the community. I'm striving to add value, which adds wealth. It adds community wealth in our souls. And when we're able to really start vibing with each other, we on that same frequency. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're gonna do a part 2 because it needs to be talked about.
I'd appreciate
everybody.
it.
Hell yeah. All right, everybody. I want to take a moment and say thank you for listening to this episode. This episode has been awesome. And I also want to say, be kind to yourself. Be gracious to yourself. Love yourself. You are loved. You are worthy. You are worth it. Much love.